It has been a dry summer for many areas across the country, and now some communities in the prairies have declared an agricultural disaster.
See the yellowing of the plant here and stuff. That's drought stress.
So that's a Manitoba farmer talking about the effect that drought is having on his crops. According to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada's drought monitor, this is what the country looks like. 71% of Canada was either abnormally dry or experiencing moderate to severe drought in the month of July. For more on what drought condition is doing to crops, we're joined by Jill Verwey, who is the president of Keystone Agricultural Producers and a farmer herself. Jill, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Listen, your farm has a trifecta. You farm beef, dairy, and crops. So tell us what the effects of drought have had on your operations.
Well, I think in Manitoba, it's varied right across the province. And we farm in central Manitoba, and certainly over the last number of years, we've been faced with more drastic and extreme weather. The Interlake, some of the pictures that you're seeing there on the screen right now is really in a tough position over the last number of years, severe drought. And that's the beef area of the province where primarily a large amount of our beef production comes from and crop. And without that rain, there's severe impacts on feed availability and pasture. And even across the province of Manitoba, we're looking at, numbers of 45% or less than 50% of the normal amount of moisture that we normally would have on a growing season. So it's having large impacts on agriculture here in Manitoba and right across the country. And Saskatchewan and Alberta definitely, 9 consecutive years of drought. So it's really impacting agriculture severely.
Yeah, I want to ask you about this term agricultural disaster. So we know in a state of emergency that helps to release funds quickly to areas that are in need. What does declaring an agricultural disaster do?
Similarly, we have agreements with the federal government and with the provinces for shared disaster relief and programming, and basically, that's adapting that same strategy and access to programming and funding right across the country, and having those, declaring those basically assists in providing funding and programming that's needed for farming operations.
You mentioned livestock being affected because pastures are dry and because you can't farm enough hay to be able to feed them. And we listened to a farmer talk about drought stress on his crops. What kind of support is being provided both by farmers to each other and by the government?
Well, I think some of the government programming has been amped up in that the levels have been increased as far as the amount of funding that's going to be available. I think important to know, from a stress standpoint, we're looking at years where our input costs are tremendously increased over the last number of years. We're seeing downward pressure on prices, and now with weather and Mother Nature not really helping out on the production side, it really places undue financial risk on farming operations, elevates the stress. And this time of year, farmers are trying to get out and get their crop off, and having all those additional stresses and knowing that, the production is not going to be there just places one more financial stressor on farmers.
I know firsthand that farmers are forward-looking, right? And they know to adapt for a couple of years either direction. But what happens to soil conditions? What happens to future crops when you have, as you've mentioned, 8 or 9 seasons of severe weather?
It places undue stress, and I think that's where my role as again sitting on the Canadian Federation of Agriculture as one of the first vice president, where federal assistance and looking forward to drought-resistant crops, having that investment in agriculture, looking towards some of these changes in weather patterns and making sure that agriculture is resilient into the future. And if there's one message to get out there is that agriculture is definitely one of those. It's the industry that actually, is part of our economic driver here in Canada and very important. And having a strong, resilient agricultural industry only catapults and ensures the economical viability of Canada here domestically and internationally. And I think increasing that and elevating the importance of agriculture and what it means to everyone that's rural and urban, that it's a very important industry in our country and needs to have that elevated federally.
It connects all of us because of the food that we eat and purchase at the stores. Jill Verwey, Vice President of the Canadian Federation of Agriculture. Great to have your perspective this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.